Endurance World Champion, Dan Linfoot. How cool does that sound? Mate, welcome back to Off Track. How are you?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm coming down off, obviously, after a bit of a high over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, really pleased to have won the championship with the team. It's been an incredible year. And yeah, I'm sure lots to talk about since we last spoke up. We spoke last in July 23, I think it was.
It was, yeah.
Suzuka. So I actually had a quick look through that podcast the other day, just to refresh on where we got to. So no, obviously I'm really good. Thanks for having me again.
No, absolute pleasure. It's a great place to do it at Optimum Bikes, just down the road for you.
Yep.
And a company that's been an intrinsic part of rebuilding Dan Linfoot to where he is now.
Massively. Ian from Optimum Bikes here. If I'm brutally honest, he's giving my career a second wind to get to where I am this year. You know, I'm sure I'll go into a bit more detail soon, but you know, I was in a dark place a couple of years ago, and when I had nothing, Ian put a stock bike together for me to go and have some fun and rekindle my career. So I can't thank them enough. You know, we have a really close relationship. I live 10 minutes away from where we are now here in York today at the bike dealership of Optimum Bikes, and yeah, still he's like family to me. He's been that important. So yeah, can't thank them enough. You know, hence why I run the big tick on the top of my helmet. It's a very influential man in my career. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect and time for him.
Tell me, let's get the end of 23 done first.
Get that parked out of the way.
Let's get that done and parked out of the way. Because when we sat down at Brands Hatch in the middle of last year, it was pre-Suzuka, wasn't it? You were just about to go out there. You'd done a couple of tests. Everything was looking rosy. We've got a plethora of trophies behind us. We've got the Superstock machine behind us. And for reasons that most people, I think, still kind of scratch their head about, it was the worst end to the season you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, it was a bit messy. Yeah, so we sat down at Brands in July of 23, which I think I'd probably just started a little bit of a winning streak. I'd done a double at, I won one at Alton,
yep.
Did a double at Knockhill, and then won again at Snetterton at Brands. Won one at Thruxton. So yeah, I went on a good run really then. And yeah, so long story short, we got to the end of the season, obviously at Brands. Couldn't quite get the championship nailed down on the first race on the Saturday in the wet. It was raining and I wasn't too strong in the wet actually on the bike, which has always been a little bit backwards. I've generally been really strong in the wet in previous, you know, teams and in BSB, but then struggled in the dry. And for some reason with this, with the team and the bike of 23, I was really strong in the dry and not strong in the wet. So anyway, the Sunday race luckily was dry. Okay, we had the pressure of the championship. I remember having a chat with the team on the morning of the race. Look, it's going to be dry. What's our plan today? Are we going conservative just to try and make sure we win the championship, or are we going to go all out and get the race victory as well? And we almost just looked at each other and didn't say anything. It was like, all right, so we're going for the win, are we? So yeah, one of those. And fortunately, I was able to, you know, put aside all the pressures of championship and just go out there and enjoy riding my bike, and took the victory, and at the time was the championship win also. You might remember I did an extra lap. Should we cross that one?
Go for it.
I remember coming over the start finish and seeing the pit board that said champion, which I thought brilliant, great, you know, job done, big relief. As I crossed the start finish line, there was a back marker just in front. And for obvious reasons, they don't put the checkered flag out for the back marker, but it must have just been timed just wrong that they put the checkered flag out just after the back marker. And when I'd looked, there was no flag out. No. So I thought, I aren't coming this far for it to not be the final lap. I'm just doing another lap just to be sure. And in hindsight, as it happens, that was my goodbye parade lap in BSB. So yeah, funny one. Yeah, obviously, of course, really happy after that, podium and everything. And then it all obviously went sour in Parc Fermé. There was some issues with the AMD guys and Honda, and sort of by then it was a little bit out of my hands. I was already sort of like, okay, my bit's done, I'll leave this to you. And what went on over the next sort of 6 weeks was, for these guys, painful. For me, I always felt like my bit was done, and I supported the team in, you know, whatever they want to do. But in the end, the decision was taken off us. Yeah, it was a front brake master cylinder that, in our opinion, was completely standard, but it had a 6mm thread. Go and get in the car, sorry.
Sorry?
A 6mm thread in the body, which was to house a reservoir bracket obviously the organisers and the championship deemed that as not homologated, therefore removed out of the results a month after the last round. So yeah, taken off us. But do you know what? We say now that we took out of that season everything that I needed. I took out the 9 victories, the confidence mentally, the Suzuka 8-hour event that went really well and moved on to bigger and better things, in my opinion. And for the team side was, yeah, it was disappointing for them. They put a lot of money in, a lot of investment, a lot of time, and actually had plans to move into Superbike for the following season with myself, which was all obviously put on the back burner. So yeah, very messy situation. I'm sure the championship didn't want that to be the case as well. But that is what it is, and we had to move on.
What was it like for you personally? Because I know the team took on the legal side of things and the MCRCB, everything went through the official legal action from there, which from a team perspective. But then you're sat at home with the missus and the kids. You've had an amazing season. It's pushed Dan Linfoot back to where most people know that he could be. The only one that probably didn't think he could be there was you when we first spoke at the beginning of 23.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on that, I guess, shortly. But the beginning of 23, I was literally just riding bikes to have fun. And you probably remember the podcast we did. I was not interested in training. I was barely interested in thinking of motorbikes until
you were barely interested in the podcast, Dan. You weren't.
To be fair, yeah.
It was me that pushed it.
That's right, 100%. Honestly, I'd given up a bit with the career. I was actually only going racing for fun, to be with the guys, to be with the team. And then it made me realise a few rounds in, actually, I've still got a bit of something with this and it's going well. And if I can, rekindle what I believe I can, then there could be still another good period where I can continue doing it. So sort of dug in again and had a good go. But yeah, I was sat at home at the end of 23 when sort of my part was done and I was just asking for updates on where are we, what's going on. Really strange period, you feel a bit helpless. But I never came out publicly and did anything, said anything. I just kept quiet, stayed at home, got on with my life, did a few other events after the season. And I just knew on the back burner was the Yoshimura Suzuki thing. Communication was going well. I was just putting all my focus into making sure I grabbed that opportunity. The timing for me was absolutely perfect, with probably the last sort of 4 to 5 years of Superbike were not where I wanted to be, shall we say, in terms of results. I mean, I don't want to say anything disrespectful about any teams. I'm massively thankful for the opportunities I got with TAG for a few years, with PR. They gave me the continuing career in Superbike, which I had wanted to do. But I just wasn't getting the results that I knew deep down I could get if I had the correct opportunity at that time. So the last few years in Superbike were really not where I expected to be result-wise. And obviously then moved into stock to try and rekindle that confidence. I think naturally your confidence and belief declines a bit when you have them years of not getting the results where you believe you should be. And really the stock thing was just fun, rebuild that confidence, and yeah, it quickly came back. So it delivered a great job from that side of it.
You can see Luke Mossy doing a similar thing.
He's doing exactly the same now.
Mirror image of exactly what's happening.
He is.
You both have the talent on the Superbike. You both won races at BSB level. The talent is there, but sometimes the opportunities don't match the talent, or somebody comes in with different opportunities, and you kind of get overlooked.
Yeah.
And then to go into stock, it's a brave move to go into the stock championship. Like Danny Kent, when he came in, instead of going straight into Superbike, he's got, no, I'll do a season in stock as a 2015 world champion.
Yeah, it is brave.
And I'll learn. And
you could easily be running around in 9th and 10th if you've not got something not quite right with your bike, or you're not as confident in your riding. You can easily, I think actually, if you look, for example, when I rode with TAG in 2021 on the Yamaha and we had the charter problem, and Rob, really good of Rob, he let me ride elsewhere for the last part of 2020. This is 2020. And then we re-signed for 21 on the Honda. Rob let me go and ride somewhere else. And I rode for Michael Rutter on Batham's BMW.
That's right. Last couple of rounds.
But there was a few issues to start with. And I was riding around in 10th and 12th. And I was looking really bad. Like BSB rider, thinking that, I could do well in BSB, but I've gone to stock and I'm finishing 10th and 12th. And I actually remember Rob calling me one day going, look, you're looking pretty dicey in this situation. Should we still be giving you a contract for Superbike the next year when you're only finishing 10th in stock? But again, all along I knew that wasn't me as such. We still had some issues. Fortunately, the team got it right at the final race electronically. and bang, I was back to where I needed to be. So yeah, going to stock's a big risk, but it's great to see Luke actually. That's what the question was. Having a great time again. You can see he's buzzing, see he's smiling, winning races again at the front. And actually, when you look back, Luke has followed my progression for like the last 5 years. When I left Quattro Plant Kawasaki, Luke went to Quattro, then went to Tag after me, then he went to PR after me. He's been like and now he's gone to Stock after me. Actually, my bike run was number 12 this year in World Endurance. So Luke,
what's his number? He is number 12.
It's good to see Luke enjoying his racing again.
Especially when riders of yours and Luke's caliber have still got something to give to the championship. It's weird how things move along and how quickly you've forgotten.
I'm sure he's questioned himself for the last couple of years. You know, Luke, he's what, 32 100%. Years old, 33 years old? I don't know, maybe.
That's what I'll tell you.
So he's got, 10 years left, you know.
Absolutely.
So there's no need to be questioning anything like that.
It's the right thing to see how the riders move on through into stock and just get that joy for winning again. And as we said, the trophies prove that. And to see the difference in you from the beginning of 23 to the end of 23, before Parc Fermé, to that point when you were up on that podium, and rightly so, crowned as champion, because race wins, points, everything else that up to that point was so good to see. It felt like some kind of redemption.
Yeah, it did. To me, it felt like actually the tough 4 or 5 years beforehand were all quite worthwhile, you know, going through them hard times, you know, keeping your riding, keeping your training, keeping whatever. Oh, well, I wouldn't say training because actually I'd given up a little bit on that side of it by then.
I'm not big on interrupting my guests, but let me just step in at this point. If the ladies and gentlemen watching and listening haven't caught the previous 2 shows that we did, by the time we got to Brands Hatch, you were in your shorts, you were in your t-shirt, you were running tracks. We saw you out there on the track running. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting a bit quicker and I need to just up my training, which, to be fair, you did say that on the first show.
Yeah.
If it starts looking like I'm going to be competitive when I'll maybe go to the gym, not just for the vending machine, actually go and use it.
Yeah. I think I remember seeing you running the track one day going, don't tell anybody.
You did. So just looking at you going like, oh, okay, here we are. Now he's taking it seriously. And this is the Dan Linfoot that we wanted to see back, because it wasn't particularly you back at the beginning of 23. And we spoke about the difficult times then. So we're not going to dwell on those. If anybody wants to see where you've come from, that first episode from, I think, May last year, we'll go through it beautifully. And then the difference then when you come to Suzuka and the excitement that you have for talking about the Endurance World Championship just lit up when you start talking about Suzuka.
Yeah.
So when did the opportunity for Yoshimura SERT come along?
Initially, probably after the Suzuka 8 Hour of 2023. So yeah, when we sat down at Brands in 23, I was just about to go to Suzuka for the 23 race with a Suzuki team from Japan. That was an older spec Yoshimura Suzuki on Bridgestone, so it was my first time ever on Bridgestones. I remember actually I looked back on that podcast and you were like, oh, where's your expectation for Suzuka in 23? Top 10, and I was like, oh, the team want a bit more than that. You know, I was a bit nervous about where we were going to be, but actually we finished 4th.
Yeah.
And we should have finished 3rd because some issue with a pit stop that cost us some time, really, so we should have been 3rd. And I think that probably got the attention a little bit of Yoshimura. I cheekily sent in a bit of a message afterwards, or an email to the director there saying, look, if there's ever a situation where you're looking for a rider, I'm really keen on switching full-time into endurance. I love the endurance, paddock. I love the mentality. I love the racing. It's something new and exciting for me. So I'd really love to come and do a full season. So I didn't hear anything for a couple of months. Unbeknown to me, the Sylvain Gintoli situation was unfolding, or he decided to leave, or go to pastures new, and there was an opportunity. And I got an email back probably in like end of August, early September, maybe of 23, to say, look, we are getting a list together. We are interested. Are you keen? And we got conversation, rolling. It wasn't probably until actually I want to say, maybe the week after Brands BSB that I got an email confirming that if I want it, it's mine. So pretty quickly after Brands, actually.
Yeah.
So obviously we had the Brands final race where we won the championship. We had the Parc Fermé sort of carry on. A week of sort of, how's this going to go? Are we going to have the championship? And then these emails from Yoshimura were coming through, and suddenly look really good. And the week after, brands got confirmed that, yeah, I can have the opportunity. So that carried me through a lot. You know, in the behind the scenes, no one really knew that was going on. But I always had this like smile on my face in my back pocket, right? Well, if this comes off, I'm out of here. And I'm not thinking twice. And that's exactly what I did.
I think that was one thing that concerned me, because you get to know the boys really well, and you become quite close, and you understand, they tell you the story, and you become friends over the years. And he sort of sat at home going like, do I drop him a message? What do I say? And it's like, sometimes it's better to go, do you know what? We'll leave it.
Yeah, I think a lot did that.
But no, it's not because people didn't care. It's like, what do you say?
Yeah, that's right,
Commiserations, mate.
If I'm honest, I dealt with it better than what I expected, but I think that's only because I knew I had this on the back burner.
That's where I'm going with it. I can't imagine what it would have been like. I know ifs and buts and pots and pans, but if you didn't have that in your back pocket, that's why I was keen to know where the Yoshimura fell into it. Because if it was February or something like that, that's 4 months
of bit of disappointment and uncertainty.
Yeah. So a week of bitter disappointment and uncertainty before the legal stuff carried on, but having that in your back pocket and, like you say, that little wry smile, that's a fortunate position to be in.
I remember obviously Japan time differences, they're 8 hours in front. Yeah. So I remember waking up one day about the 21st of October last year, having a notification of an email going onto it and it being, welcome to Yoshimura SERT. And I was like, oh, the relief was massive. Like, me and the missus were so relieved. And I think it was just a relief of the shit's over.
Yeah.
I'm moving on. I've got a new career here, or a start of a new career, a great opportunity, you know, an opportunity where it's realistic. You could become a world champion. Now, we're sat here now and it's happened, which is unbelievable. But back then in October last year, you're being told that you've got this opportunity to join a team that have won the world championship several times. Therefore, it is very realistically possible that you could win the championship. So you have to set your aim to do that, which was another change in the head again is, okay, I've not done much endurance. I've done 4 or 5 rounds, whatever you want to call it. But now I have to set my target to be a world champion, or to put in a performance with this team where you don't let them down. You know, you crash in a BSB race, okay, you let your team down, bad weekend. You crash in an endurance race, you let your 2 teammates down, there's 40 other staff in the team, big deal. Like, so there's the pressure over the winter was starting to build a bit from that point of view of, I'm with a really big team now, and I've got to really make sure that I'm switched on and not making errors. And 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, when you're tired, it could be quite easy to have a small lapse of concentration and make an error. So yeah, I went to work over winter. As soon as I got that opportunity on end of October in 23, the switch was flicked. Zwift was gone live on the push bike in the garage, and Dan was really focused on that March date of Le Mans 24 hours.
How do you approach, in fact, no, we'll come to that in a bit. When you look at the Endurance World Championship, as British riders, if I remember rightly, it tends to be more European riders that get brought into the teams from an endurance perspective. It's only sort of recently with Westy that's gone over there, and we've seen Tom Ward come into the fore, and Tom Oliver, Michael Dunlop had a crack at at Le Mans. But we're starting to see, as we'll see hopefully next year as well, more British riders at a certain point in their career moving into EWC, because the teams now know that they can do a job. Maturity is a huge part of that. Yeah,
maturity is a huge part. And actually, I've said this a few times, if I had got this opportunity with Yoshimura 5 to 7 years ago, it wouldn't have been right. You know, I was crashing more, wasn't as consistent, probably wasn't as much of an all-round experienced, reliable member of the team. You know, I could have caused more issues. So the timing was just absolutely perfect. And yeah, I think actually, in fairness to BSB, what it does, it breeds a great talent, or a great breeding ground for talent. And then when you get an opportunity in endurance, it's there to be seen. You know, that's the strength of BSB, is it's such a strong field, and you sink or swim. And the only way is to increase your level, increase your speed when you're riding in BSB for so long. And obviously that is transferable to to other classes. So yeah, I'm thankful to BSB. It's been I didn't really realise how long I'd been racing in BSB. A long time.
When was your first season, Dan?
In Superbike?
Yeah.
2010. So yeah, time flies, eh?
But it does. But the teams that you've ridden with Factory Honda, and you've been a great ambassador for them through the years. The opportunities have been there. Is there any opportunity that if you had the chance again, you would maybe go for another option when you look back at your BSB career, or are you quite comfortable with how it panned out? I'll give you a get out.
Yeah, I think you could always change bits and bobs. I think you put yourself in that position where you've got a chance to race in BSB, or you go and look for something else. Well, I'm not going to say easiest, but the most secure option to carry on with your trade or with your job is to continue in BSB. So I don't regret the choices I made. But in hindsight, should I have gone to stock sooner from a personal point of view to gain the confidence back, enjoy the racing more, get the results? I became a bit of a winning machine last year, and as soon as I got a sniff of what winning felt like, I just wanted to win. And that's the bit that I regret, or maybe I should have chosen to have done sooner, is actually race to win. I sort of raced to keep a secure job and not to win, and I regret not racing to win.
That was something I remember clearly from the middle of the year podcast when we talk about the taste of Prosecco, what that does for a rider.
Yeah, it's addictive.
It's the drug, isn't it?
Like, completely.
It's how do you replace that feeling? I speak to so many riders that want, it was, in fact, I'll quote Jamie Robinson when I spoke to him in the summer. Once you win, you're fucked. Because that's what you're chasing for the rest of your career, to feel that top step.
Yeah.
And the laurel wreath and the big trophy and all the cheers at the top of that podium.
Completely right. It's, to a lot of people watching, it's quite an indescribable feeling. They probably think, oh, why are you so caught up on riding a bike and winning some races? Well, when you're giving your life to it, and it's all you've done since you were young, and you've put X amount of hours in, X amount of crashes, trips to hospital, finding sponsors. You've done a whole lot of, if you want to call it work. I know I don't work, but a whole lot of gathering this information, gathering this pool of feelings and talent to be able to do it. When you can actually put that together and win, that's what you want to strive to keep doing every time. And when you get one win, you want two, you want three, you want six, you just want to keep winning. Addictive.
The more I get to know riders over the years, the more that, and maybe again, for the ladies and gentlemen watching, listening, you think about motorcycle racing every day, 365 days a year, sometimes to the detriment.
I had 6 months off thinking about motorbikes, but that really helped me think about it more than ever.
That's an interesting theory.
Well, I realised what I could have lost out on. And now
balance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For the balance side of things. But when you're an active rider, how's that? At that point, rather than having the 6 months off with the family, with Carly and the kids, and being dad and husband, and realizing what you maybe didn't see previously, because it is every day, I've got to be better, I've got to do this, I've got to be there, I'm racing, I'm doing this. Everything sits in a little bubble. And once that bubble bursts for a bit, and you suddenly go, whoa.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's just what I was going to say. It's actually when you're active and when you're sort of in a midway through a contract, or you're working towards your goal, you actually don't see what a great thing you're doing. You're just focusing on your next training session, your next race. How can I perform better at the next track? Or let's watch some YouTube videos or onboard laps. You're just in that sole focus zone of trying to improve your performance. You don't actually step back and think, wow, I'm riding around these cool tracks on these cool bikes. I'm doing something that most people would give a right arm to do. That's a little bit sad that you sort of can lose a bit of that perspective of what a great thing you're doing. But it's just from a performance point of view that you're solely focused on your next upcoming event. The
great thing is you're one of many, because it's something I ask of a lot of riders about, being in the moment. Because I know, to the greater degree probably, or the lesser degree, whichever way you look at it, how you boys and girls are programmed, because you are solely focused on the job in hand. And to actually, you speak to some riders and like, they've won the championship, halfway down the slowdown lap, they're already thinking about next season, or they're already thinking about the next race.
Yeah.
It's like you don't give yourself time to enjoy where you're at. But now I know that you can.
I am a lot more now, and my missus has drilled this into me this year. After I had my 6 months of not thinking about motorbikes and coming back in 23, she's really drilled it into me. Look, you're living your memories right now, so make the most of it. Have a good look round, and even the guy that I take to endurance races now, Glyn, my good helper Glyn, he's drilling it into me. Look, remember what you're doing. Go and do that interview, enjoy it, and you're living your best moments now. So I'm mindful of that now. I think maybe getting a bit older, a bit more experience, had that 6 months of realizing what I was about to give up on, shall we say, and I'm loving it now.
That's the right way. So I just pop this down, it's just started to pop up a little bit. That's it. I've spoken to younger riders about the similar sort of thing, and I had a long conversation with Joe Talbot back at Alton Park, and it's like, even when you're having a bad day, sign every autograph, stop for every picture, because you don't know how much you're making that kid's day. But because you're having a bad day, I know it's work, I know it's the job, but what's it like when people aren't knocking on your door and taking pictures?
I've been in that position where I've not wanted to do pit walks and not wanting to stop and sign things, and I've really turned my back on that in the last few years of BSB, but purely because it frustrated me being there, knowing that I'm riding around in 15th when I shouldn't be doing that. I should be much, more up the front. So I do regret that a bit. And actually, when I'm racing now, I've really changed my outlook on that, and I'm really trying to take in those moments a lot more. But I guess it's one of those phases that you go through when you've been a bit selfish and you're not performing, or in a situation that you're getting the results that you feel like you should be. And regret that a bit.
But it doesn't always go the right way, does it? And it is work, it is the job. When you've got that contract and you're fighting for that contract for the next season, and the results aren't where you're anticipating to be, and you're thinking, right, what we're going to happen at the end here? Are they going to exercise that second year option? But the results aren't coming. It is human nature to be that way.
Yeah,
because it's your job.
Yeah, you sort of turn your back, you sort of get... Well, I got embarrassed. The thing for me was I didn't want to walk to the toilet block at BSB in fear of being stopped. Or how's it going? Oh, well, 15.
Thanks for asking.
I'm not going to give you anything positive. They're only going to think that I'm a wanker. Oh, sorry, because I'm moaning. So that was my thing, is I didn't want to put myself in a position to be asked questions of how it's going. And again, regret that. I should have dealt with that better, shall we say. And I should have enjoyed actually just of being part of it. But again, I was in that process where I wasn't delivering what I knew I could do, and it frustrated me.
Tell me about 2024 then. Let's get on to the good stuff now. As you build up with Yoshimura SERT Suzuki towards Le Mans, the first World Endurance round of the season, what was that build up like? What did you have to do in terms of testing and ingratiating yourself with the team?
So from finding out in mid-October that I was going to be part of it was a pretty intense winter. For one was really have a good push, which I loved it. It was a great focus for me. Turned up for the first test which was I want to say end of February, early March. We did 2 days in Valencia and 2 days in Jerez. So that was my first contact with the bike. Fortunately, I'd had the experience of 23 on the 8-hour bike, which was a similar spec. So I knew roughly what the bike was going to feel like, especially the tyres, because probably one of the biggest contributing factors to the feeling of the bike is the Bridgestones. So first contact was good. There was some new members of the team that were, new. They had to learn me and they had to learn the teammates. I'm still quite fresh with my teammates. I knew Greg a little bit from racing long time ago, but I didn't know Etienne at all. So really it was a case of a bit of team building. Get to know the bike, spin some laps. Was pretty quick straight away. Was relative to where the teammates were. And we just set about the usual testing feedback, really. Feedback with 3 riders is a little bit different to feedback with 1 rider. You've got to, as a crew chief is the more important role to dissect each of the 3 riders' feedback to then make the change compromise on all 3 of the feedbacks. So as a rider in endurance, I give the same feedback as what I ever would from like BSB, but that's down to the crew chief as to whether they apply exactly my feedback or a compromise based on mine and one of the teammates. So testing was good. Really, it was sort of no pressure. First contact, get installed with the bike, get my feeling up with the bike, and blend into the team. Start to work well. And By the end of the first 2 days in Jerez, I was as quick as the other guys. It wasn't based on times, you know, by then it's really early stages for me. I just wanted to be close to them. I didn't want to be a second off. I didn't want to really be a second in front. I just wanted to be similar to where they were, and so that they feel like they've got a reliable member that's as equally as fast and isn't going to let them down in races. We moved on to Valencia, where I could continue my sort of feelings, and it went really well. Was pretty quick. Again, the feedbacks were good, some new changes to the bike, and all three of us left there feeling pretty buoyed. You know, the next thing on the schedule was the Le Mans pre-test. Going to be cold, is what it is, but get the ball rolling there. So I think we had about a week off, and then went to Le Mans for the pre-test, where we started to do some race runs, you know, some 1 hour simulations, which was great for me to get that understanding of how the bike is over the stint. The team can then analyze my performance over a stint, and you know, you can make some feedback and changes sort of based on that. So really good pre-season. No issues. All riders were getting on in good harmony, and I was feeling really excited for Le Mans, but I'm not going to lie, I was really nervous for Le Mans. You know, joining a team like this, I was excited, knew that we could get a great result, but didn't want to be the one to make a blunder.
Mentally, how did you prepare for it? Because this is the big shot now. This is it, and you don't get much bigger races to start the season than the Le Mans 24 hour.
And there's extra pressure on that. It's the team's home round. The team are based in an industrial estate a stone's throw from Le Mans circuit, so it's their home event. They'd won the Ball d'Or the previous year, so you know, expectation was that they were going to win. My first race with the team, everything was just a perfect like pressure cooker of high pressure. And I feel like I dealt with that actually really well. You know, I kept calm. I didn't get too excited. I didn't get too sort of low. I just stayed in a sort of calm way and focused on one stint at a time. For me, that was the key, was just one stint at a time. There's going to be 9 or 10 stints in the whole race. Take it one at a time.
How do you, before we get into the race and how you prepare for it, because the whole thing fascinates me, because it is just a completely different way of riding, isn't it? When you spoke earlier about the crew chief, and you've got Greg Black, Etienne, Masson, and yourself, all with different riding styles, how much of a compromise is your riding style to make the bike work? Because you've got to compromise making the bike work for you.
Do you know what? We are really lucky. We're all a similar height. So we're a similar sort of aesthetic build on the bike, if you like, that we all need or want the bars, foot pegs in a similar place. So we're all really comfortable on the bike. I think the biggest thing that we have, I'm not taking the P here, the biggest thing we have that we all require something different is the front brake lever position, and that's nothing. Like, we just each wind it where we want it. Generally, I'm a bit further out and they're a bit closer, so that's probably the biggest thing, which is
the span of the lever.
Just the span of the lever. So it's just a case of in the pit lane giving it a few winds and we're all good to go. So we're really, really similar. Our feedbacks are all very similar on what the bike needs better, what the bike is quite good at. We're all in pretty good harmony actually with that side of it. So I think we're quite lucky in that one of us isn't 7 foot and one of us isn't 5 foot and one of us isn't 100 kilos and one is 50 kilos, for example. So yeah, we're pretty blessed from that side of it.
So going into the race and going into qualifying, what was your approach to that as Dan Linfoot? After everything that had gone on, all of a sudden, here we are at the Le Mans 24 hour with Yoshimura SERT Suzuki. This is effectively chapter 3, page 1 of your career.
It is exactly that. It was a fresh start. And the biggest thing for me to be mindful was, it's not an individual sport, it's a team sport. This is a massive team, and I don't ever want to be the one that tries to be bigger than the team or have an ego or prove I want to be the faster rider of the 3. I'm not interested in that in the slightest. I want to provide a service that is as equal to the others, and that they can see me as reliable and strong when I need to be strong, calm when I need to be calm. And that was my mindset, really, was just to do the job that I need to do, and again, take it one stint at a time. So qualifyings were good. You get a qualifying tyre in EWC. So, you know, fortunately with the Bridgestone package, qualifying tyre is one of the things that all Bridgestone teams get. So understanding the queue was a little bit tricky. Track temperatures are also tricky in Le Mans, but I put a good lap together. I think I was 0.1 off of Greg's best lap. So I was happy, and I think we were second on the grid.
Yeah.
For Le Mans there. So yeah, Canepa's lap was the fastest of the event, I think at like 34.7 or 34.8, and I think I was about 35.2. So I was pretty pleased. But one lap in qualifying is absolutely the other end of what's about to be coming in a 24-hour race. So I quickly parked that one and just focused on the race.
What's the approach to your stint as you do? Was it an hour at a time, pretty much?
Yeah, they are. They're like 58 minutes, so they're pretty much an hour, yeah.
So what's your approach to each of the stints that you do in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for? Preparation.
So a lot of that is dictated by the team. As in, from a technical side, the team, depending on where you are in the race, right, in this stint we want to push, in this stint we want to manage, in this stint, you know, you dictate it to a lot by the team, which is great, you know, to have that direction. How do I focus? Well, the first few stints are quite relatively, I'm not going to say easy, but they're relatively simple. Fatigue hasn't kicked in, you've got energy. First 3 or 4 stints are enjoyable. The sun's coming down, loving it. You know, you just focus,
everything's
absolutely. You can smell a lot of sausages and burgers when you go around, and you're thinking you just focusing on your rhythm. That's probably the biggest word I would say is you've got your target time, you've got your timer on the bike. Just keep that rhythm, and you know, try and focus on not losing too much time through back markers, because it's a big thing. You're passing, you know, slow riders quite a lot. So one of the key focuses for me this year was to not give away too much time passing back markers and give them room. Be safe. You know, you never know how that can be an issue. You're riding with some slower riders that can be unpredictable, so give them space.
When the race, who did the first, which stint were you at Le Mans?
Third.
So you were third stint?
Yeah, so Greg started, Etienne was second, and I was third, yeah.
Are you still racing your rivals at that point?
Yeah, can be.
But your first hour, you're going to be. It's like that's a race, isn't it, to begin with? But then it becomes against the time later on. So you're still in a race.
So I think when I went out for my first stint, I don't think I was actually in sight of any of my rivals.
Okay.
But I had referenced every lap on the LED board, the pit board. Like I think we were leading Yart by like 10 or 12 seconds. So I just had that 12 seconds in my head of not letting them close that down. So yeah, first stint was okay. It was really, for me, actually, I must say, the first stint for the team in that race was getting my nerves out of the way. It was just settle on the bike, understand your rhythm, you know where your lap time is. And after that first stint, I just felt my shoulders drop by 10 centimeters. So just, right, okay, for the rest of the race now, at least I know where I am, where my rhythm is, and what the feeling's like.
How many stints do you do?
I think I did 9, and maybe Greg and Etienne did 10, something like that. I think I'm one behind because I'm the last rider.
Okay.
How it worked was around that.
Yeah,
so
to be whatever it was, it would be either 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning when you go out for your stint. I mean, Suzuka, it doesn't quite go to that time of night, does it? Suzuka finishes in the dark, but you're not racing at 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Suzuka is 11:30 a.m. till 7:30 p.m. and sunset is about 7 p.m. So you get half an hour of darkness, and the daylight does go really fast, and so you do get literally half an hour of darkness in Suzuka, but you have to be the last rider. In 23 hours, I started the race and finished the race, so I got that last hour of darkness, and I bloody loved it in Suzuka with all grandstands lit up with the colours and the wheel and that. It's proper special to finish the race there. But then obviously in 24 hours, you get a long period of darkness to adjust to.
How have you adjusted to that? Because are there 2 24 hours?
2, yeah.
Boldor and Le Mans.
Yeah.
So how do you adjust to that? And I think fortunately you probably weren't passed too often for where the bike was on track and where you are with your rivals. But coming up against other riders and you see the headlights coming underneath, and the fact of doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning and trying to prepare for that. I'll let you answer that first. How do you prepare?
Well, I don't think you can. Like, the only way you can prepare a little bit for that is during the week of the race when you have the night practice. You get a 1 hour practice in the dark. So the 1 hour session goes fast between 3 riders, believe me. So you might get 6 laps of riding in the dark before the race starts. So really it's that first stint in the dark that you're settling in. And the lap times are similar. You'll go as fast, if not faster, in the dark than what you do in the daytime. air temperature's a bit more down, so the bike's a little bit quicker on the straight. Definitely somewhere like the Ball d'Or that's got a long straight, and that makes a big difference. But the tracks just come so automatic to you by then. You've done that many laps, you're on like autopilot, and yeah, the lap time in the dark is just as fast as in the daytime. Sorry, but the sensation is amplified. Anyone that's done an endurance race in the dark will probably say the same. The nighttime for me is incredible. It's special. It's enjoyable every lap. Okay. 4, 5, 6 in the morning is a bit less because of obvious reasons, but actually the sort of experience of doing it in the dark is incredible. You've got the added focus or added amplification of you can only see where you're going. Yeah. So all the sort of ambient light is down and you don't really get to see anything else other than literally where your headlights are pointing, and that's incredible. To start with, you end up turning in a bit early because of the lack of what you can see. You tend to just die for the apex. So it takes you 5 or 6 laps to get accustomed to that and build up your patience so that you're tipping at the correct point. And after that, you're away. It's brilliant. And when you see, like, I watched a bit of the footage back from Le Mans and Ball d'Or, and when you see the onboard, like looking up at the helmet in the darkness, it's pinch yourself stuff. It's really, really cool. So yeah, the nights are long, especially in Le Mans when the temperature's pretty low. We had 2 degrees in Le Mans this year, which is pretty chilly. Yeah, it's pretty chilly for an hour. Like your hands are slowing down on the bike a bit because of the sort of lack of blood flow or whatever. That's probably the toughest part actually of Le Mans, is dealing with the fluctuation in track temperature and actually knowing where the grip is and isn't. Especially like the early morning, like the last stint of the dark and the first one of the morning, where there's like a dew point and the curbs and the paint gets incredibly dewy. Like I had a moment in the race, probably seen it on socials, coming under the Dunlop Bridge, and at first I thought, I must have clipped the white line, must have just timed the roll off, but I didn't even touch the white line. I was completely on the black stuff, so the grip was down, and you just have to learn really where that grip is. So there's a lot of adapting in a race. You go through so many emotions with your teammates, your team. You've got energy at the start, your energy dwindles. Yeah, you go through a lot of emotions in a 24-hour. And if you have blessed to have a good result, them teammates become brothers to you at the end of a 24-hour race. It's a special thing to do.
How do you feel by the time you get to sort of lunchtime in a 24-hour race?
Lunchtime of the day you're going to finish.
The day you're going to finish.
Everything's a bit tunnely, a bit tunnel visiony, a bit. It's become repetitive. You've got a sort of schedule that you've done the same since 3 o'clock the previous day. You've ridden the bike, you've debriefed, you've got changed, you've eaten, you've gone to the physio, you've rested, and you've gone back on the bike, and you've done that same process 8 to 10 times. So yeah, you're in that process, but you can feel that you're sort of not energy, but your alertness, especially when you're off the bike, like when you're in the hospitality physio, you're just a bit drained, lethargic, you're low. But when you get on the bike, you're alert again. You have to be. The speed automatically wakes you up. So I actually really like all the changes of how your body adapts. You think you're tired, but you've got still so much more energy left to go at. It would be easy to say after 6 hours in, oh God, I'm done. But your body will go on. And actually adrenaline's going to help. By the end of the race, like when we won in, say, Le Mans and Ball d'Or, you don't even know you missed out on a night's sleep because you're that buzzing with the result that you're absolutely peaking, that you don't even feel tired. And I'll stay awake till 10, 11 o'clock that night as normal. And I'm like, well, I've missed a full night's sleep and I'm still awake at 10, 11 o'clock at night. And yeah, it's really, really odd that the body adapts. But for sure, you feel it the week when you get home.
And grateful that there's 3 of you, not 2.
Well, yeah. And that is one thing that, when you think about, does scare me a little bit, is you just don't know when you're lining up at the start of that race with 3 riders. Something could happen on the first stint, a rider's down, and you're doing 24 hours with 2 of you, which is a scary thought, but you've got to be prepared for it. You've got to be prepared physically, mentally. You cannot let that team down, and if that's what you have to do, you have to do.
I was talking to Tom Ward a couple of 3 weeks ago, and it was fascinating to listen to Wardy's take on doing the endurance side of things. And he was saying, similar to you, he said, it's not an hour off the bike. You're debriefing, which is 10 or 15 minutes. Then you're getting out of your kit, which in Suzuka is dripping wet with sweat and humidity, trying to get it all dried off. trying to get electrolytes, trying to get energy and gels inside you, eat properly, fuel up. By the time before you know it, you've got 10 minutes of actual calm before you're doing the repeat process.
Exactly that.
To get the kit back on, get ready for when your teammate comes in, and you've had the pre-brief from the team for what you're doing in the stint. It's so intense.
In a 24-hour, I would say I probably get, if everything goes to schedule and all riders are okay and you do your normal rhythm of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I'd probably say I would get 20 minutes of actual sat down on a chair or on a bed before I get in my kit ready to go again. So them 20 minutes are actually when you're resting. Of sleep, I got 2 times 10-minute sleeps in the whole of the 24-hour race in Boulder a couple of weeks ago. I have done it in the past with a previous team where each rider elected to do a double stint in the night.
Right.
So that got you like 3 hours off the bike. And that was different, but I still couldn't sleep. You're still adrenaline, your body temperature's high, the noise of the bikes. You're in the race still, even though you're resting, you're still like active, like, oh, where are they? Is everything okay? You remember, if the rider before you has an issue, anytime you're called on to get back in your kit, you know what? It's so important to have, I'm going to big him up here, I have a helper, you know, I've had a helper called Barry and a helper called Glyn that have helped me with the team this year. Massive part, because when I come in from a stint, I don't want to have to charge airbags, put knee sliders on, clean helmets. I don't want to see that kit because I've got like 70 minutes until I'm back in it. So them guys take it away, prepare it, and get it ready for the next stint. And it is a massive, massive help, which I'm so thankful for, so that I can just prioritize food, physio, and rest to get back on the bike. In Suzuka, when I did in 2023, was back-to-back, was 2 riders. And actually this year for a lot of the race was 2 riders. Albert did 1 stint and me and Coco did the rest. So during them stints, your rest or time off the bike is a lot less. So I think a stint in Suzuka was again about 58 minutes. So by the time I'd come in, debrief changed, pool, dried, I think I literally had to get back off the massage bed to get back in my suit to go run back to the garage again. So literally there is very, very minimal rest when you have to back-to-back it. But of course it's only an 8-hour race. Yeah. The sleep thing doesn't come into it at all. It is literally just the intensity of the race that you have to manage.
But you're going to do 4 weekends a year, don't you?
Exactly, yeah, 4 weekends a year and get the rest of the year off, eh?
As people would believe, when they look at the calendar, they look at it and go, is that it? Or the intensity, and as you quite rightly pointed out before we sat down, you've done more laps this year than BSP season.
100%. Yeah, there's 4 events a year, but if you break down the amount of laps I've done, testing, practice, qualifying, races, 100% is more than a BSP season.
You didn't finish off the podium in all 4 races. So the win at Le Mans, second at the Boulder.
No, second at Spa.
Second at Spa, sorry. Third at Suzuka and a win at the Boulder. Yeah, I was getting my tracks mixed up.
That's all right.
Would you have foreseen that at the start of the season?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I think when you look at an endurance season of 4 races, the probably law of averages at some point you're going to have a crash, a DNF, something that is going to knock you off the podium and contribute to it being a challenging season. And also from Yacht's point of view, I think I heard on the commentary, I don't think it's either ever happened or very unlikely to happen that Yacht and us finished on the podium in every race of the season. And for example, for Yacht to have not won the championship when they finished on the podium in every race, I think is a little bit unheard of. So it just shows that both teams, us and Yacht, had a massively consistent season.
Tell me about Spa. Because it's the only way, look at the anybody who's ever raced there has such an affinity and a love for Spa. There's something that will link into what Wardy said previously, and I wonder if you've had the same issue with it. But just explain to our listeners and viewers what it's like to race, not just ride it, but actually to race Spa-Francorchamps.
So firstly, I was lucky enough to do Spa 2 years ago in a 24-hour format, which in the dark was incredible. Like actually very, 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 sounds stupid, very dark. Most tracks have an element of floodlights or lighting, where Spa had just basically nothing. And it was so lonely, so dark. you just thought, if this bike breaks down in these trees, like, how am I ever going to get back? It just is a bit scary.
Never to be seen again.
And then Spa and 8 Hour this year was just amazing. Like, it was, the track is phenomenal. Like, you just know that you're riding around somewhere so historical, so enjoyable, so fast. It's, yeah, it gives you goosebumps, man. It's that sort of Eau Rouge and Raidillon section, the first, you know, uphill, like, okay, we can't take it flat like F1 cars can, but like, it's sick from the entry back to pitch the bike in with a massive, like, positive camber and uphill. You get a bit of G-force where it like pushes you down into the hill, a bit like the bottom of Paddock Hill.
Yeah.
It takes some learning. Like, it's a long track with a lot of character, so it takes a lot of learning and a lot of precision. But we had a great race there. Unfortunately, we didn't win. You know, the Art guys won. Seems that in 8 Hour trim they have a little performance advantage on us, and then in 24 maybe on the other way we tend to have a little bit over them, but made for obviously a really strong close season. But yeah, there's going back to Spa. Like, I remember in the last stint the sun was coming down, and I said to myself on the bike, remember this, like, this is a special moment. I genuinely didn't want to pull in when I had the last pit board, L0 on my last stint. I was like, God, it's over. I'm going to have to pull in. I just wanted to carry on. It was just so enjoyable. You're in such a rhythm, such a flow. I'm not going to say it's coming easy, but you're just in that really enjoyable state of riding, and you're knocking the laps off, you're passing the back markers, you're just hitting your marks. It was a pleasure. Like, that bike, them tyres around that track, it was just a pleasure.
I don't think it was this year that Wardy was talking about. He might have done it previously when it was a 24-hour. But Wardy explained the braking markers are really bright. When you go past them, he said the braking markers are there. They're lights to show you where the corner is. He said all of a sudden you go past it and you can't really see an awful lot.
I think that was a couple of years ago. They had almost the 150 boards. They had them a bit reflective. Actually, that was because of the dark. Whereas actually this year in the daytime, that wasn't the case. You didn't have that added sort of vision of the reflection on them. And one or two of the markers are really hard to pick out. And I think that's what makes it hard to learn, is that it's quite sparse or it's quite spread out. And a lot of the references that you pick up, you know, naturally just to ride the track, one, with it being long, two, with it being sparse, you're looking at things to pick up and use. And yeah, I think as a rider, that's one of the tracks that is so rewarding because it's so challenging and it's hard to learn. It makes it such more rewarding experience when you can get down to a good lap time, because you know you've found your rhythm, you found your flow, and it's just if anybody out there hasn't ridden Spa, book a track day, just do it.
I knew the grin had come as soon as I mentioned Spa. I was expecting it.
Yeah, it's straight in at the favourite. Like, everyone has a bit of a list, don't they, of it, and number one, Spa.
When you move on to Suzuka and you're there as a factory Yoshimura Suzuki rider, you've done kind of, I think it's fair to say, B team, and not being in that factory bubble of being with a team as Yoshimura SERT Suzuki. What was the biggest difference this year compared to when you've been before as more of a guest rider?
Yeah, it was noticeable actually. Yeah, because most of Suzuka 8 Hour events I've done were one-offs. They were literally just come for this event, and I was never really the main rider either. I was second or third, and the expectation wasn't on me. And then obviously this year the expectation was on you. You know, you won Le Mans, you were second in Spa, you're going to Suzuka as with the main. My other teammates actually, for reference, Greg had been injured in the pre-test in Suzuka, so he didn't take part in Suzuka 8 Hour. And my other regular teammate, Etienne Masson, was drafted into a separate Suzuki team. So I was actually the only regular rider of the normal team that was taking part in Suzuka. And the reserve rider, which is a Japanese rider called Kokaru Atsumi, joined us essentially as a two-rider team at this point. So it was full pressure, and I liked that. That was cool. You know, I sort of understood that I was dealing with pressure quite well in this team. The team made it quite a very enjoyable experience. But you know that when you're expected to get a podium in Suzuka, that it's not going to be easy. HRC, Ducati this year was super strong with Mizuno and Hafiz and Josh. So it was just a case of, right, get down to business, get testing, get your rhythm. And the team I must say, the team did a super job in Suzuka. Me and Coco and Albert, for the stint that he did, we all rode securely, strong, doing the sort of reference time we needed to do. But the team had a strategy with fuel saving that really helped us in the last stint to take back the position from Ducati. So yeah, to take third in Suzuka was a really strong, proud moment for the team. Proud moment for me, because I didn't even think I'd get a podium in Suzuka. Like I'd hoped to be close. I would love to have got a podium, and to actually achieve it was like, I stood on that podium in the dark, looking at all the people thinking, Suzuka at our podium, like Joe and Zarco's here. This is a moment just to remember again, Dan. And yeah, definitely took that in and enjoyed the moment. The team were buzzing. Great for championship as well. We were having an intense battle with Yar at that time. They finished second in the race. We finished third in the race. So it was keeping the championship in really close proximity, and again keeping the podium record up as well. So it was a happy flight back from Japan, I'll tell you, because you get on the flight to Japan knowing, right, I'm ready, I feel good, but this is going to be a big effort. Like, just a stint in Japan is a big effort. The first, it's a 28 or 29 lap stint, I think, in Japan. The first 15 to 20 laps, certainly not easy, certainly difficult, but the last 10 minutes, torturous. Like, you're panting, you're sweating, you're just watching that lap board, like waiting for it to say L0 and get your ass back in the pit lane and then get yourself sorted. And, you come in and you're bright red, your body's struggling to adapt to the heat, really. It's a big effort.
With Suzuka, as you being the regular rider with a stand-in rider, and the faith that the team had put in you to go, okay, Danson, this is where we're going to go with this. You are the lead rider. Would it be fair to say that that was the point of the season where you were, I'm an endurance world championship rider now. I've been accepted and the team trust me to lead this out?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair comment. I think by no means did I take a lead role in the team. I'm three rounds in with the team. I was growing, definitely. I was definitely growing as the rounds went on, finding my feet more with how the team operate and what they expect of me, and how they go to work about a standard weekend. So in Suzuka, because my other regular teammates weren't there and it was just me and Coco, I felt like I was actually probably one of the more experienced of the teammates, shall we say. So certainly I grew as the year went on, and I settled in, and I just took it again one stint at a time, really. Suzuka was, I think I did 4 stints. Yeah. Then Coco did 5 because of how it worked out with the last one in the dark. But yeah, 4 stints there, which was less than actually the year before. The year before I did 5, so.
But the success out there, and I know the love that you have for Suzuka, so it was really cool to see that the effort you put in over years, and we've seen a lot of the lads go from BSB. Tommy Bridewell's done it. There's been a few that have gone over as one-off rides and experienced it. But to be there as part of a 4-round championship and go, okay, well, this is the championship. This is where we are now. Next is the Bol d'Or. That's the big one to end the season. Another 24-hour race, again, back in the team's home country. What was it like going into the Bol, knowing that you had the chance of coming out the other side of the weekend as an EWC world champion? It was
nerve-wracking, like 100%. It wasn't torturous, but it was nerve-wracking, and we could actually all feel that there was a bit of a change in atmosphere in Bol d'Or, which is natural. It's a high pressure cooker event, last one of the year, championship on the line, so close with Yacht. Throughout the week in practice, the wind was playing havoc with everybody. There was a horrific, strong wind pushing everybody around the track, and at one point it was pretty dangerous. But luckily for the race, that settled. The wind was still. And we'd sort of found a happy place with the bike by then as well. You've got X amount of laps in over the weekend, and you just turn in your focus to delivering this race. We had to just not think about outcomes. We just had to think about each stint, not making any errors. Luckily, I'm not going to say luckily, we never want that luck on our rivals, but obviously Yacht had an issue in the first stint with a tyre malfunction. And we had the same tyre on at the time, so obviously it was stressful for us, thinking, is this going to happen to us? We had to manage that situation. So we changed spec tyre, and really just then didn't over risk during the stints. You know, my teammates are massively experienced in endurance. I'm the least experienced, but I was just using their experience to guide me on what to do. And I would ask questions. The team would brief on, right, this stint we need you to push, this stint we need you to manage. And for me, I managed all race. I pushed in probably 2 or 3 stints when I felt really comfortable to do so. And luckily by sort of 6 hours to go, we'd built up a margin, I think, of about 6 laps. So we didn't have to rush at all. We just had to ride safe. But you're absolutely papping yourself about the bike not finishing. Like everyone says, and you hear noises, you think things, you just do. It's natural, it's human nature. You're short shifting. I don't think I saw a shift light in my whole last stint. I'm just doing like throwing gears at the bike and reducing the throttle on the straight. Like that track is so tough for the bike and tough for the engine. And yeah, the good old Susie made it to the end. Like I couldn't believe it that both 24-hour races, the Suzuki showed massively strong reliability and was first over the line. So to win both 24-hour races in one season, yeah, it's been stuff that dreams are made of, really. You know, I've got to pinch myself.
What was the end of the day like when crowned champions up on the rostrum, and here you are, everything that had gone before you, the difficult times in BSB, the difficult times with stock, the good times that you had as well, had all led to that moment?
I had to have a moment. Like I remember during the last stint of Etienne, when there was like 20 minutes to go, I'm just sat looking up at that screen. I didn't know whether to smile. I didn't know whether I needed a poo. I didn't know whether, I just didn't know what I needed to do. I was just fixated on looking at that bike on the screen, just get over the line. And with a lap to go, when the team ran over to the start finish, all them thoughts come over you. You know, all the years, all the trips to hospital, all the issues, like, it's been worthwhile. Finally, something that has been worthwhile for. So I had my sunglasses on and I was hiding a bit of emotion, and then TV came and did an interview, which was cool. But yeah, it's natural for all those moments to come out and be present in your mind. But what a feeling, you know, of course you grow up from a young age dreaming of being a world champion. MotoGP would be lovely, World Superbikes would be lovely, but endurance is still a fantastic championship, and it's a full world championship. So to actually be able to call myself a world champion when I'm 65 to my kids and grandkids is going to be special. But at the moment, I feel like actually it's the first step of hopefully more. You never know how it can go, but I feel like I've got a short term in front of me that I can stay in this championship, and would like to try and win it again. Who knows? You
also have to dust off the tux as well. You've got the FIM awards to come.
Good on you, yeah. No, I have thought about this.
It's not in Liverpool this year. No offence to Liverpool and Scousers, but you can go somewhere warmer.
Yeah, that's right. I think we have to go to Palma, Mallorca, to be part of an FIM gala presentation of all the world champions. So yeah, it will be nice to sort of share an evening with the MotoGP world champion and Moto2, Moto3 world superbike. Pecco. It's going to be Pecco, is it? So no, obviously joking aside, that's just going to be a nice touch, a nice, cherry on the cake to finish the season. And yeah, look towards whatever 2025 will bring.
What is it going to bring?
Well, of course, I want to stay in endurance. I'm not in this for 1 year. I haven't won it this season. I want to stay in this championship for years to come. I would love to run number one, play with a team, and I'm hoping, and I think we're in a situation where we'll be able to continue to do that. So at the moment, nothing is official. I haven't signed a contract, but I'm awaiting some terms to agree, and hopefully we can continue. Yeah.
I'm waiting for some zeros because I'm a world champion.
Well, of course, it's not all about that, but
no, it's not.
But it does make the world go round.
Of course, it does. You're a long time stopped. We've said this before.
Yeah.
And if this is another step and it makes that pension pot a little bit stronger, that's what it's all about. When you get to 32, ish, there or thereabouts. Are you 32 yet?
I'm 36 now. Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say my age. I've got a lot of greys coming.
But it's the right age to do it, and we've said that it was said on Eurosport the weekend. Potentially, Jason O'Halloran's coming into the championship. Maybe at a long shot, Leon Haslam's coming in. Quality riders of a certain age that can do jobs for teams, and that's what it's all about.
For me, absolutely that. I mean, those two guys that you've named are two guys with a wealth of experience in BSB, racing BSB. Well, Leon has been in BSB for about 35 years. So yeah, they've got a massive amount of experience, and I can only speak from my own experience, actually, that BSB has been great. It's taught me, a lot of the things that I know, raced at a really high level, a lot of teams. But for me, it got to the point where it had become a bit of a habit. It had become monotonous. It had become a frustration. And the endurance route for me was a massive motivation, and it could use the skill that I'd gained in BSB and transfer over to endurance. So I'm sure an element of those guys' decision, if that's correct, is to use the tools that they've got from riding in BSB and apply that in endurance, and they'll have a great time.
How have you developed as a rider from this season doing a full year of EWC?
I think quite a lot. I mean, obviously you develop most years with some aspects. There's some modern techniques that are coming in. The leg dangle came in. There's all sorts of new things that come in. This year, things that I've gained have been obviously on an endurance level. So it would be fuel consumption managing. It would be pit stop procedures. It would just be different aspects of what I need to do. Probably the speed aspect is just the same as before, but there's some key things with the bike setup and then with riding with Bridgestones that I had to adapt sort of rider technique to be able to take profit out of the Bridgestone tires as much as possible. So yeah, you mold yourself to the bike, you adapt to the bike, and every rider would do that sort of naturally anyway. So yeah, for me, and I was no different. I had to change some things. Some of my natural way of riding could stay, and some things I had to change. And that's been an exciting process to better myself.
When I've spoken to Leon before, when Leon, he's been successful at the Suzuka 8 Hour with Honda, and he's got a lot of experience out there. One thing that Leon always referred to was the Bridgestone tyres. Going to Suzuka, just for that particular event, I know you've ridden them all year, but just as a point for that event, moving from Pirelli to Bridgestone, and what you can do with Bridgestone tyres with a full fat 8 sugar superbike, it's just night and day.
If you could ask me the one single item or one single racing component that I have the most confidence in when what I've ever ridden, I'd say it's a Bridgestone front tyre. It's incredible. Like the strength of the tyre, the confidence it gives you, the amount of brake pressure you can hold when you're adding angle, it's phenomenal. Really, really is.
It was MotoGP derived as well, wasn't it? Because there was always great stories about the Bridgestone front in their time in MotoGP.
And it's a double-edged sword. Like you have to load that tyre to get the grip out of the tyre. So if you're entering a corner with, say, 4 or 5 bar of front brake, that tyre isn't, you're not using that tyre, the strength of that tyre to help stop it and turn it. If you're pulling the brake at, say, 10, 12, 15 bar, then you're really squashing the tyre into the surface, giving the tyre grip, and that's when it's at its best. So it's the threshold of the tyres, it's scary actually, how the threshold of the tyres grip's so high that you don't know where the limit is because it's that good.
Well, that's Leon's strength, isn't it, as well, braking?
Yeah.
He really does. There's no progression, they're on or they're off.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So it's the perfect thing for him.
Yeah.
Mate, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Thoroughly enjoyed this. We haven't quite finished yet.
Okay.
Because we have our Patreon questions.
This could get juicy.
And I haven't looked at the Patreon questions. We put it out last week to have a look to see who would put one out. I'm sure somebody asked a question on it. Let's have a look. From Geralt Ellis, what's the difference between a BSB bike and an endurance bike?
Well, the first thing is the Control BSB electronics, which remove a lot of ride raids, TC, AW, where in endurance they have quite a sophisticated or almost MotoGP level electronic system with TC anti-wheelie that can divide the track up into, I think, 9 sections where you've got sort of corner by corner setting changes. So the electronic side is a massive difference. Chassis are the same, the Superbike, they're identical. Forks are similar. Obviously everything is made for quick release for wheel changes, so the bike's broken down into hundreds of pieces within seconds in an event of a crash. And then obviously the tyre manufacturers is open. We've got everything. We've got Pirelli, Michelin, Bridgestone, Dunlop. So probably that's the main difference is our electronics and tyres.
Interesting. I was just looking for the questions that they didn't appear straight away, and I'm sure somebody asked.
Yeah, I would have thought no one would have asked anything.
No, I was just looking at thinking I'm going to have to make something up here.
But your heart skipped a beat for a minute.
It did a little bit, and I knew I'd seen the questions. I knew I'd seen them. Thank you for that one, Geralt. Mick Strickland. Here's a question. We've covered some of it. We've covered the last part of this for sure. But from Mick, would Dan consider coming back to BSB either in stock 1000 or superbikes?
It's not on my radar, no. I'm sorry. I'm loving what I'm doing at the moment. I'm having a great time. You know, won the championship this year. So for BSB fans out there, yeah, I'm pretty sorry to say that it doesn't have any interest at all. Yeah.
The second part of the question is what we spoke about right at the very beginning about getting over the disappointment. So Mick, we answered that question a little bit early. I didn't realise you'd already asked that. Two from Craig Lowe. How long do you think the Suzuki will be able to be competitive in endurance racing? Yeah,
good point. Well, the bike is old. I mean, the bike we ride at the moment is, I believe, like 2017 was its last update. So already seven-year-old technology. Yoshimura haven't stood still. You know, they've brought a lot of updates. I know even when I joined the team this year from the first test, there was a raft of new components that they were pushing with. So certainly haven't stood still. A lot could say it's lacking on aero. It's lacking on some of the new modern things that come on homologated road bikes. So yeah, it's competitive. Like, what more can you say? It's old, but it's still competitive. It's still winning races. It's got unbelievable reliability. It isn't the fastest bike on the straight, and it isn't the slowest, so it's just in the middle.
Yeah.
I think our bike is a great all-rounder. Maybe isn't the best in some of the long corners, maybe isn't the fastest on the straight, but it's a great all-round package. And for endurance, I think that's what you need. Like, there's a lot more to be lost in a 24-hour race with reliability and issues than there is just that last bit of performance in some certain sections of a track.
I think the other question that Craig had asked was about how you dealt with the end of 23, which we covered off earlier in the interview. I had a question in my head then, and it was just replying to Craig then that's just pushed it out. I'll edit this bit. I had a great question.
Was it about end of 23?
No, it wasn't. No, it was...
From the Suzuki question?
You know, I get the questions in my head and then something throws it in and I'm going to get halfway down the A64 and I'm going to be like, I don't believe I forgot to ask that question.
I don't want to... Go on.
No, carry on. You carry on.
I don't want to... Maybe it's something that you could put in after, but I've been sort of, not promised, but told that if we won the championship, we'd get to have a go on the MotoGP bike, the Suzuki MotoGP bike. So at the moment, I'm in the process of holding my fingers crossed that there's going to be an email coming through that we're going to have a spin on it. So that's going to be mega if possible.
Who were the other two British riders that rode that Suzuki MotoGP bike? Here's a pop quiz question.
Brad Ray, Michael Dunlop.
Well done.
See?
I've remembered the question now. Is there one question that you wish I'd asked you? And if there is, what is it?
No, do you know what? There isn't. I'm well content at the moment. I don't know if it comes across in body language or what I'm saying or what, but I'm happy at the moment. Like, life's good. I've won this with the team. I feel incredibly lucky to be part of the team I'm with. I'm settled with them. I have a lot of fun with them. We deliver results. This is what racing's about. Like, I've learned over that tough period that was tough. Like, that isn't going racing. Going racing is when you line up on the grid and you know you can win. And that the penny dropped.
This is fantastic. Let's do this again next year.
No worries.
Because I enjoy your company, Dan, and it's so good to see where you are now and the redemption and looking forward for everything that went previously, everything that you've got at the back here. It's just mint.
No,
even I'm struggling to find the words because we followed the journey so closely.
Right. Yeah, there was massive, like, the dark times from like 2020 to midway through 22 were a struggle. Like, home life was a struggle because racing's not going good. It was just one of those processes that was hard to get out of. And I remember so well that July at Brands in 22 with the PR racing guys, I had to break the cycle. Like, just wasn't going anywhere. What was I doing? Why am I lining up on the grid? Issue after issue. I'm looking stupid. I remember saying to my teammate, Dan Jones, great guy, get on well with Dan, good kid. And I remember saying, if the bike breaks in this race, I'm done. And sure enough, the first race at Brands in 22, there was a warning on the dash on the first lap, overheating. And I just pulled in the pits and I said, look, I'm done. Like, I cannot carry on like this. And I had nothing, literally had not a chance of riding anything else. So there was no stock bike, there was no 600, there was nothing. I came here to work. Ian from Optimum said, if you want something to do, you can come and service some bikes in the service bay. And I'm not joking, I didn't do every day, but I did 2 or 3 days a week, working downstairs here with the guys, doing some servicing, and just thinking, what can I do now? What is life going to be? Is this the time where I go get 9 to 5, or do I want to keep continuing my racing? Ian said, right, if you want to still race, I'll build you a stocker. And it wasn't that one, but obviously very similar. Go and have some fun. And I did the last 4 races of 22 with them, and I think I finished second in my last. I'll tell you what happened. I led at Snetterton, and I got wiped out by Nesbitt, or something happened at the last corner at Snetterton, and I got absolutely torpedoed while I was leaving.
Charlie hit the dirt. He caught his knee.
Right.
No. Didn't Alex
Olsen hit the dirt?
His knee in the dirt, that pulled the dirt on. Charlie had nowhere to go. The bike came through and took you out.
Exactly that.
I remember it.
And can you imagine what's just happened? I've had bad years in BSB. I left the team in a nightmare. Had nothing. I've come back to stock, leading my first race, wiped out. I'm just like, is this a sign? Do I need to be walking away and just getting a job in the corner shop or something? Like, it was not going for me. There was a reason somewhere it just wasn't working. And yeah, these guys had to rebuild a brand new bike, probably, I don't know, 30 grand's worth. We finished that season. I finished second in the last race, and then we started again in 23, again, just for fun. But as you know, like, I didn't think the career was there. I'd gone skiing over winter. I was eating pasties until my heart was content, and bad place. And it's quite concerning how you can quickly drop your mentality like that. So yeah, I'm really thankful. For me, I think there was a piece in MCN like last week, going from 18 months from rock bottom to world champion, and what a way to explain it. I mean, I don't want. It's a tough one because obviously I've got some bad memories of BSB from recent times, but there's a lot of good memories as well from the first showdowns that I made in 2014 with some great teams that I've ridden for, like Pete Extons, Mark Smith Halverson, obviously Honda, Tag. I've been really fortunate to have quite a long time racing in BSB with some good teams, heck of a lot of money thrown at me in my career. And those teams and guys contribute to where I am today. Thanks to them all. And for the fans and stuff out there, I know I'm distant at the moment. I haven't been to a BSB at all this year, for example. It's been a bit of a break for me. Just didn't really want to go, didn't want to see people, talk to people. And then when we won this, I didn't want to suddenly just turn up at Donington and go, oh yeah, remember me, I won. I stayed away. It's not in my demeanor to come and do that. So I've had a full season off of BSB, and hopefully in the next year or two, I'll go back and have a bit of fun watching. But there's certainly nothing in my head at the moment that leaves any desire to come and race in BSB. It's been a great period of my career, and I've moved on to something else now, and I'm fortunate to be having a great time, and I want to grab this opportunity for as long as I can do.
There comes a point where if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got.
Yeah, and maybe this is it. Going from that 22 period of it just not working, now I've got something that is working. I want to keep hold of it.
Will we see you at Motorcycle Life?
At the moment, I've got no reason. I've not been asked. If there's a reason to go, or I'm requested by Suzuki or something, then I'm not against going for sure. I'll go. But at the moment, there's been no request to go, so I may not.
Okay. Hopefully we'll see you down there.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
But you've got the FIM Awards coming up.
Yes, yeah.
You've got a steady win. Hopefully something will come up with Yoshimura.
Yeah,
again
no,
for
I'm really sure on that.
You seem quietly confident on that, but until it's signed and sealed. Yeah. But all remains to say is Dan Linfoot, Endurance World Champion 2024. Thank you so much, mate.
Get yourself out of here.